Finally, Bobby Lashley has won the WWE Championship. This past week's episode of Raw, Lashley defeated The Miz to become the champion. This whole thing, I'm a giant fan of, okay? The Miz, when he was champion, if you watch my brutally honest thoughts on Miz winning the title video, in that video, and just generally speaking, my sentiments towards The Miz as WWE Champion in 2021, if I had to describe it in one word, I'd use the word LOL, okay? It was a LOL, okay? That's what The Miz as WWE Champion in 2021 was. So, that was Miz. Now, Lashley, the almighty Bobby Lashley of the Hurt Business, is champion, okay? I couldn't be more happy for him, happy for the Hurt Business, MVP, everyone involved in this. People have been hardcore Lashley fans for years. I genuinely think Lashley as champion is amazing, because you look at Lashley as a guy who, my God, some of the stuff he's been through in WWE. You look at the Three Sisters segment and that whole storyline with Sami Zayn back in 2018. Okay, this guy, Bobby Lashley, was having Sami Zayn come out there with three, I don't even know how to describe it, three quote-unquote sisters of Lashley, and it was just awful. So that was 2018. Then he was in this throwaway heel stable with McIntyre and Baron the Constable King Burger whatever Corbin. So they did that. And then they did the Rusev Lana Lashley storyline, which is infamously regarded as one of the worst storylines in recent history for WWE. That as a storyline, Rusev Lana Lashley and Liv Morgan, oh my God. So Lashley's been a part of a lot of crap, but ever since he joined with MVP, the tide's turned, okay? Lashley, he went from that to a guy who was more legitimate, more credible. He challenged McIntyre for the WWE Championship at Backlash last year, just fell short. Then he became the United States Champion, okay? Lashley beat Cruz, Lashley became the US Champion. He held that title well for about 6 months, and now Bobby Lashley is the top champion in WWE. Well, the top champion on Raw, at the very least. The WWE title is like the belt, because as great as the Universal title is with Roman Reigns, it's the Universal title, okay? That's the same belt that Finn Balor held for a day, the same belt that Kevin Owens held, the same belt that Brock Lesnar's sat at home on the couch in his ranch with and not defended for 15 months. Like, it's that belt. So the Universal title at the moment is like the A belt, but nonetheless, Bobby Lashley being WWE Champion is genuinely sick. And I think one of the points that Bonafide Heat made on Twitter yesterday, which I want to state this on video in case you haven't heard this or you haven't really heard this perspective. So in the conversation surrounding Lashley, as I mentioned, has been through all this crap from Sami Zayn storyline, Rusev Lana Lashley, that terrible stable, etc. He's been a part of all that crap, and now, finally, he gets his big moment, he's the champion, everything's good, everything's, at peace. You compare that to someone like, CM Punk, who many of you know was, and keyword, was my favorite wrestler of all time, and I still love the work he did in 2011 to 2014, or 2013. All that work is why I'm still a fan of wrestling today, but nonetheless, you look at what CM Punk did. A 434-day run as WWE Champion, but he was butthurt and quit the company because WWE had him co-main eventing WrestleMania against Triple H. Like, you look at the perspectives there, Lashley puts up with all this crap year after year after year, awful storyline after awful storyline, horrible creative. Finally, Lashley overcomes all that with the help of MVP and the Hurt Business. Lashley is at the top of the mountain. He gets this big moment, and you compare that to Phil Brooks, who has a 14-month-long WWE title reign, is pushed as the top guy, not named Cena, for like 3 years. But that's not good enough. Stuff the WWE, I hate them. Like, it's interesting comparison. But nonetheless, Lashley from here, where to go with Lashley? Now, in my opinion, obviously Lashley versus Lesnar is like the big money match. I think if they can make that happen, if Brock Lesnar will wrestle, I think that match makes too much sense. Because for years now, fans have been crying out for Lashley versus Lesnar. Fans have been begging for Lashley versus Lesnar, myself included, because you look at these two guys, okay? These are two guys who, if WWE have the WrestleMania 37 graphic on Peacock, you're seeing Lashley with the WWE Championship, Brock Lesnar, Lesnar one side, Lashley with the WWE title on the other side, the WrestleMania logo, WWE, if you're some random scrolling through Peacock, you're going to go, oh my god, that's a fight, I've got to see that, when's that on? So, and you're enticed, you want to watch it. That's what Lashley versus Lesnar for the WWE title would be. And in that regard, God, I pray they do that. I pray they do Lashley versus Lesnar. That would be so sick. That is a phenomenal WrestleMania Night 1 main event. That is just gold. So hopefully they do that, because, my word, Lashley and Lesnar, the legitimacy, the credibility, it's just a dream match. That's the best way of putting it. It is a true dream match in pro wrestling. One of the last true dream matches left, because, look, in my opinion, as far as true dream matches left in wrestling, Reigns versus The Rock, Lashley, Lesnar, those are the big ones. As far as other ones, dream matches are a bit of a tough one. But nonetheless, Lashley, Lesnar is a dream match. Hopefully they do it. If they don't do that, they're going to do Lashley versus McIntyre for the title at Mania. Now, one thing I want to say about this, OTRS Central made a really good video about this yesterday. One point I'll make here is that if Lashley walks into WrestleMania, WWE Champion, in front of however many people are going to be in attendance, what is it, 25,000? Is that how many people they're having at WrestleMania? Whatever they do. If Lashley walks in champion, and Drew McIntyre beats him, and Drew becomes a 3-time champion in the space of a year, let me tell you what's going to happen, okay? Let me tell you what's going to happen. So, many of you watching this will have seen WrestleMania 22. WrestleMania 22 was main evented by John Cena, the babyface WWE Champion, well, quote-unquote babyface WWE Champion, and he defended the belt against Triple H. Now, the whole thing with that was that Cena was the top guy, he was the top babyface, he was the guy who, the WWE were putting all their eggs in the basket of trying to push. Drew McIntyre nowadays. So, that was Cena. He went in there, and the fans in attendance let off their fatigue at him. The fans in attendance expressed their general kind of tiredness of seeing this wrestler. In 2006 at WrestleMania 22, it was John Cena. And fans on that night were cheering Triple H like he was stone cold in his prime. Okay, that's what happened at WrestleMania 22. Now, with that being said, we look at nowadays. If you roll into WrestleMania 37, Lashley defending the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre, what do you think's going to happen? More than likely what's going to happen is the fans are going to cheer Lashley as though he's prime Steve Austin, and McIntyre will get a decent reaction. He won't get as bad a reaction as Cena did in 06 at WrestleMania 22, but the reaction for McIntyre is not going to be overly great if you have Lashley, this guy who everyone at the moment is praising, if you have Drew McIntyre just beat him, just to give Drew his moment in front of fans. The whole thing with Drew, you've got to wait with him now, because Lashley has just had this big moment. If you take the belt off Lashley in, how long to WrestleMania? 5 weeks? If you take the belt off Lashley in 5 weeks' time, in my opinion, and the opinion of quite a few wrestling fans, you're going to have a whole, it's McIntyre again? Okay, McIntyre isn't bad, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that if McIntyre beats Lashley to become champion, it's well, we saw this for 46 of the last 49 weeks, should I really care? That's how I'm going to feel, and that's how many people are going to feel. Because Drew McIntyre, yes, he can carry Raw for the rest of 2021, having another 8-month-long championship reign, beating heel after heel after heel. That's all well and good if you're a McIntyre fan. But if you're just a fan of wrestling, a fan of Raw, you want Raw to be the best possible TV show, having Lashley, MVP, the Hurt Business, as the top champions, having Drew McIntyre have a good couple-month-long feud with Sheamus, have McIntyre maybe win the United States Championship from Riddle, you can do a McIntyre-Riddle feud, something like that. Really just progressing McIntyre's character, not just having McIntyre be the guy who is a Cena 2.0, a Reigns 2.0, a babyface who WWE is going to push into the title picture over and over and over again, even though people are just getting burnt out. So that's been the video. In summary, Lashley's WWE Champion, I think, is amazing. I love that Lashley's champion. Genuinely, it's so sick. Like, this guy is just amazing. So it's awesome to see he's champion. The Hurt Business is awesome. A quick side note, I was going to title this video, I love Bobby Lashley, but we're going with the title of Lashley wins the title, my brutally honest thoughts, but nonetheless, anyway, this has been a fun video. It's just generally fun. Lashley is champion. You'll love to see it. Lashley vs. Lesnar, WWE title, WrestleMania 37, Night 1. Please, dear God, Brock, accept the 7-figure payment from Vince. Let that match happen, because, my word, that is just a dream match personified here. Enjoy the video, like, comment, subscribe, and drill. See ya.